Hello, I am Dr. Sonia Cunningham Leverett with Hadassah's Crown Publishing, and we are continuing to do what we do. We love people, we love books, and we love you, our audience and supporters. And we're here today to talk about another super cute children's book. And we have our author with us, and she's going to introduce herself, and then we're going to dive right into this cute story about a cute little girl, and you will love it just as much as I do.
Good morning. I'm Angela Bain, and as Dr. Cunningham said, I am the author, or let's say co-author, of Layne Loves Labradors. I'm a longtime educator in public schools in South Carolina, and most recently, I've been a superintendent, teacher, assistant principal, so you name it. I've been there, done that in South Carolina. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, and I know you're spending a good bit of time helping school districts and doing some consulting, but your newest role is author. And we are as excited about that as you and your family and all of the children that you've already had an opportunity to read to, and all of those who are waiting for you. We just are very excited about seeing how all of that will evolve and how all of that will happen. And our other little author is not here with us today, but she is Layne Welsh, and we're going to talk about her a good bit as we go through this interview today. So if you will, tell us about Layne and how did this idea for this book get started?
Layne is my great niece, and she is 5 years old. So I've watched her grow up, and not many people know that I don't have any children of my own. I wasn't blessed with those. However, with 43 years in the public schools in South Carolina, I believe that's what God's plan was for me, so I could spend time with a lot of other children. And so I've just been fascinated with Layne and her growth and her development from when she was born. She's always just been such a pleasant little girl, and from being a baby, just smiling all the time, and just I love to watch her learn. And she has always loved animals. She just took to them, and they took to her. She's like a little magnet for dogs and cats. And of course, in the book, you'll see her feeding her fish and all the dogs and the cats and the horses even. When she was about 3 years old, Layne was at my sister's farm, and her dad was helping with the the horses. They have 11 horses, and I don't know, at the time they might have had 12. So she could name all of the horses and which stall they go into. Now she's 3. And then she knew which color bucket, feed bucket, that each one got and how much grain they got at 3. And so that fascinated me. And at that point, that was probably 2021, I think. So, or maybe 22, I'm not sure. But in my just watching her, every time when I was around her, I just noticed what a helpful child she is. She's always asking, "May I help you? Can I help you with that? What can I do to help you?" And I thought, how many children know to do that? And that was just natural to her. So I could go on and on about Layne because I'm just fascinated with her and her growth, and just the light in her.
Wow, she sounds like a fascinating child, and I can't wait to actually meet Layne face to face. So when the book came, when it was actually put on paper, what was her reaction?
I was almost finished with it, and she was visiting here probably in January of this year. I started it in 2021 and then just kind of put it aside for a while because
Mhm.
life got in the way, as you know how that goes. So I started it in January, was about finished with it, and I sat her down when she was visiting with her grandmother, Grandy. You'll see her in the book too. That's my sister. And I just said, I want to read you a book, a story about you. And she loved it. She said, "Oh yes, I do. I know all those horses." And so she remembered. She hadn't been around them lately, but she remembered all the horses and feeding. She feeds her fish. She named her fish JP after my mother, Jerry Pierce. And so the book is dedicated to my mother, who passed away in September. So, and Layne was very close to her. So I just have been very fascinated with Layne, and in January when I read it to her, I changed it a little bit just based on what she talked about. That you know, Grandy's a nurse and she helps fix people, and so I thought, okay, well, Grandy needs to fix a dog, and you actually gave me some of those hints too, Dr. Cunningham, as my publisher. So I can't thank you enough for all the work that you helped me with on this first endeavor, and to call myself an author. I didn't even
Well,
think to say that.
I've been very pleased and tickled to be on the journey because each journey with each author is so different. And I always learn a lot. And I love seeing the personality and the excitement and just how the project unfolds. But you were definitely a go-getter because you were able to do so much on your own and you handled it, like a pro. So it was a great, seamless process. We did have a couple of hiccups, but that often happens when you're dealing with the creativity. There's sometimes things that are, beyond your control, but you learn from them. You make sure that you're giving customers the very, very best. And so, that's been our commitment and that's what we have done. And so we appreciate your patience and we're ready for this series. We have one on the shelf, Layne Loves Labradors. And so we will unveil the cover to you in a little while of the second book that is already underway and in progress. I love it that your first stop for the most part was in Layne's classroom with all of her classmates. And then at the end, they got a surprise. So tell us about that visit.
Oh my goodness. If you'll visit my website, I have a new website. I have a website, for heaven's sakes. It's breezybbbooks.com. And that video from Beaufort County School District is on my website under the news section. But we had the best time when we were getting ready for it. Layne and I practiced what she would do. So we practiced, I was reading it and she practiced turning the pages, and she and Grandy made special bookmarks for all of her classmates. And they have little beads on the little string and then beads on each end. And they had dog paws and dog bones on the bookmarks. And so when she knew that I was going to give every single person in her class and her teachers a copy of Layne Loves Labradors, she just got so excited. As an aside, and maybe relative to this, she is making those bookmarks to sell at the Water Festival in Beaufort County, in Beaufort, and I think it's in July, and they're going to sell those, and the profits will go to the animal shelter, because she and Grandy have this project that they help the animals. And so this book is just so fitting for her spirit. And so this visit, she acted like it wasn't a big deal because she spent the night before out at Grandy's house, and we were there. And she was not a big deal. But when we got to that classroom and they got out there in the middle where they always do their readings in the rocking chair, and she got to stand up there, she was beside herself. And I just loved watching her with her classmates. And so when I read it to her, she had another copy of the book and she was over there doing the pages like a little Vanna White, I guess. And so one of the first things I asked was, "Who is this?" And they were like, "Layne." And so you'll see part of that in the video if you take a visit to that site. And she was able to hand out the books to each child. Then she was able to hand out the bookmarks that she had made for them. So it was just an all around beautiful sight to watch this come to fruition for her.
Wow.
And I want to do it again.
I'm sure, I am very sure we'll have another opportunity, but May 16th was like just a really big day that you were looking so forward to. And as we were preparing, we were trying to get things ready for that. So I know the excitement on both ends, all ends. The children were excited, to have an author come and read the book. But this isn't a book that we had to bring money from our parents. The book was given to us. What a precious gift, and not the paperback, the hardcover.
We gave him a hardcover, yes.
Yes. And the thing about it, I don't want to jump too far. So before I go to where I was getting ready to go, let me just emphasize that breezybooks.com is available for our audience to go to see what's going on with the book, to look at events, to look at galleries of pictures. But also in the link for this video, I am going to share the YouTube video from your school visit so that our
Oh, good.
following, our readers can see that. And also there will be a link to purchase, but I just want to remind them to attend that water festival if they're going to be in the Beaufort area, support Layne and her bookmarks, and know that at the end of the day, you are helping pets in the local area as well. You're
Right.
helping
Thank
animals
you for
there.
that. Thank
You're
you.
so welcome. And I did have a thought. Layne right now has somewhat of a hard toss up. We'll see how things go as the years progress, but she may very well be a veterinarian, or she may have her own farm. She has a lot of vocational opportunities with animals, but it sounds like some of those educator genes might be coming through as well. So she could
Maybe.
combine the two, and she could teach all about the equestrian life or something of that nature. So it just will be very interesting to watch her as she progresses and blossoms. And I can't wait to see what her adventures are like in the next book. But what I was going to say a few minutes ago is that those families who will have this book for the summer have an entire lesson unit study guide in the back of the book with the discussion questions that are for before, during, and after the story, and they're based on age levels. Then they have standards so that parents who may not even be familiar with the standards that are taught in the schools can review those with their children all summer. But then based on each spread or each set of pages in the book, there are questions and discussions that the families can have together just to take learning a bit further. So reading the story, looking at the pictures, that's one lesson, but then there's so many lessons in the back of the book. What has been the responses to the standards in the back so far?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have some I'm actually getting some reviews on Amazon. So the parents are responding, some of the ones from the school or her class. And of course my sister is feeding me some of these responses, and my kids love this. Thank you for the questions. I really never knew how to ask a question about a book. And so my vision on this was to write the book. If you when you write the book, you have the story, but then at the same time, you want to teach a child something. So every children's book does teach a child something. I think that's ultimately the purpose of every children's book,
Mhm.
whether it is or not. I think that is. And so with mine, that's exactly what I was trying to do. But mine's different. My approach to writing children's books is different because as an educator, long time, I know how to ask the questions. I know the levels that they need to go, but a lot of parents don't know that. We've been trained as educators to do that and to understand what the comprehension level should be and what type of question to ask to generate some conversation and discussion so that they're learning and they don't even realize it. So this is my approach. I'd like for them to read the book all the way through so they can be familiar with the story. And then I could envision a parent or a teacher even. I mean, this is a perfect um, co-curricular, cross-curricular story where because I've incorporated not only national literacy standards, but science and math as well. And so, you walk out every day and you don't say, well, which part of this experience is science? Which part of this is literacy? Which is math? It
Mhm.
just happens. And so um, I'll have to give some kudos to Dina Dunlap, who helped with these standards. She is a longtime educator in South Carolina as well, and she was my chief instructional officer in Chester, South Carolina, when I was superintendent there. And I don't know anybody better to work with me on this, so I called her and said, "Hey, let's collaborate on something." And she just ran with it. I said, "Here's my vision. Here's what I want to do. I want to attach these to the standards." So I sent her the story, and she went all over it. So we collaborated in that respect. So this is a teaching tool for parents and for children. I just had a class or a principal order a 94 copies for his kindergartners to take home.
Oh,
And
awesome.
so that when you mentioned summer reading, this is a perfect book for parents, and it can last all summer because as the child grows, you can see in the back, they're not only standards and questions for the the pages. They are also broken down by age ranges, toddler, infant toddler, and then there's the upper ages, earlier or next ages, which would be Layne's age.
Mhm.
So we're looking at maybe even 3 years old on up to probably 9 or 10. And you could use this with a high school class if you wanted to, if you really got creative. And
That's true.
so the approach to my books is a little different because I don't know when you went to school and you had to read those 100 children's books in one of your classes, remember in graduate school when we
Yes.
had to do that. I always wanted to know, well, I really wish the author had told us what their point was going to be or what their point wanted us to get out of it.
Mhm.
And so I said, well, I'm just going to tell them. And this is how I did it with the questions and the standards and the different levels approach to this cute little story about a
That's
cute little
great.
girl.
That's a great point because, you know, we're all different and we come from different backgrounds. We have different perspectives. And when I read a book, I may have certain takeaways, but your takeaways may be different. Everybody in the classroom's takeaways may be different. But
Mhm.
if you hear the author, there may be some things that nobody even ever thought about.
I know.
And it's like, well, how did you expect us, or how were we supposed to get that? So I love it that there is no question left as to what the reader is supposed to take away. Because I was blown away, honestly. You know, when I thought about standards in the back, I just thought of a few, just kind of broad where you do break them down and make things a little bit more specific. But
Mhm.
this turns it, um, as the saying used to be, any which way except for loose. I mean, it's
I know.
over, beyond, under, around, all sorts of questions. And by the time they're finished, they will completely understand this book and have a deep, deep love and appreciation for it. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't have that from the very beginning, but this is an easy guide for parents, easy guide for children, easy guide for instructors. And so teachers don't necessarily have to do a lot of prep, a lot of
Uh,
planning. It's all here for them. And I'm so glad that the principal or superintendent purchased those books for those children. And I just want to tell people who may see this video that it's not too late. Yes, summer is here for most people, but the book is available. And so for your daycares, for your summer camps, for your preschoolers, you're trying to get them ready for the school year. I remember with my son and my nieces and nephews, we'd go and we'd get those really big workbooks, and we would
mhm.
kind of plan out through the summer. We're going to do this much this week and this much, and we're going to have you ready for whatever grade you're going to. This is truly one of those guides because, as you said, math and science are included in here. It's not just literacy, but it's also about daily living and how those integrate into what you're learning in school in ways that children and many parents probably have never even thought about.
Well, I have another quick idea that just kind of happened this past Sunday at my church.
Uh-huh.
I gave my pastor a copy of Layne Loves Labradors, and he said, "Oh, this is great." He read it, and he said, this you could really go with this." And I said, "Well, what I really want to do is some children's church. I want to do a series in children's church. You know how they come up front every Sunday for children's church. I would
Uh-huh.
like to do a 3-part series." But I need your help attaching it to the appropriate scripture. And so I don't know if this is the place to talk about it, but that's another idea and so we're going to be using this in children's church for 3 Sundays.
Uh-huh.
It's not mapped out yet, but
Uh-huh.
that and also we'll probably be working with this in Vacation Bible School. So
Okay.
that's June 10th through 12th at my church. And so that's another idea
Well, I
that,
have an idea too. So
oh,
with that maybe you can use Genesis and the creation. On this day, God created this, and you can talk about how the illustrator, used all of God's creations. Everything is represented. And so when did he make people? When did he make animals? When did he make the plants and so forth? So
oh, yes.
yes, that's a whole curriculum. I love it. I love it. And kudos to him for giving you the opportunity to do that.
I know. I'm so thankful for that. And so
Yes.
he's been he's been really a cheerleader for my husband and me in getting this book moving.
Awesome. Well, that is wonderful. And so you have a number of states where your work is known and people know you. And so I know the book is going to take off, but it's not going to be limited there. It's going to go across this country. And then we're going to start to see Layne visiting other countries and being held up by the school children there. So I just can't
I
wait.
hope so.
Yes, I just can't wait to see. And I know some people who have visited your website might be familiar with where Layne is going next. I know now the next stop for Layne, so I can't wait to see the other stops. But I am going to share the cover. Let's see, it's gonna take me a second, so we'll just keep talking while I pull it up. I thought I had it pulled up about the next book. So when are you finding time to write?
I am doing some consulting for school districts in South Carolina, and and of course I'm involved in our church, and so uh, I I just sometimes you just get into a mood, and I just come in here and in my little office and just start writing. And then of course the story changes a
Uh-huh.
couple of times. And so as I think of things, I'll either write them down in a little notebook or run in here and add a line or two. And so that's kind of how I've been doing with, we've had lots of visitors here at our house, and we've been visiting down in Beaufort. So and we're going to the graduation. My godchild, our niece, graduates tomorrow actually. So we're
Okay.
headed to South Carolina again. We stay busy. So it's
It,
difficult to find a lot of time to write all at one time, but it's still as it hits you, you just got to do it. Oh, there it is.
right. So you're able to see it because I'm getting some quirky
I,
looking things on my
I
screen.
I can only see just the top part where it says the top. There it is. There we go.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So look at Layne. And I mean, she's moved from the outdoors and
Right.
loving on the animals and the nature and all of that good stuff. And now she's in the kitchen. So I must say she has to be a multi-talented young lady.
She is, and this is inspired by the true thing. She loves to cook. I mean, she will help me in the kitchen. I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm even washing dishes, she will do it. She has her own little step stool here in my house and at her Grandy's house, and so she loves to cook. And I'll explain things to her. And the funniest thing is cracking an egg. That's been an experiment. So what she does is she puts her hand over my hand and feels the motion, and that's how we teach her how to cut things and how to crack an egg. And she likes to mix, and she's learning how to keep the spoon or the whisk inside the bowl instead of all over the place. But uh, this is our next book, and Layne Loves Lasagna is about Layne having a lasagna party for her friends.
Oh, wow.
And so she will be cooking. This time she will be cooking with Aunt Angie, moi, and Uncle Mike in our kitchen. And she's going to invite several of her friends over. I think there will be 6 children at the table. And so some of the kids in there are in her class. She wanted to make sure she chose the right one. So we had a discussion about who she was inviting to her lasagna party when we were in Beaufort last time. So
Okay.
we now know who's coming to the party. And we will have some mishaps along the way of Layne and Angie cooking. lasagna and
Well,
planning the lasagna meal in the party.
I'm excited that Mike is going to be in this book. I can't wait to see what that's like with him in the kitchen. But I just want to say this is my kind of lasagna. I see all sorts of vegetables, and that is truly, if I were making it, that's, and I don't make lasagna often. My sister is the gifted lasagna baker in our family. And she does a meatless and then she does a meat. And I always gravitate to that vegetarian lasagna.
Okay.
And and I see the teaching opportunities already with all of these vegetables laid out. So
Oh,
I can
sure.
imagine.
You know, when she sent me the cover, I described to her the illustrator, a little bit of what I wanted to do, and she nailed it perfectly. I said, well, the only thing I think you should have are some garlic cloves on there. So she added some garlic cloves, and the little chef's hat's cute, but and you had a great idea to put some oven mitts on her, on Layne, and so thank you for that. But she has depicted her perfectly in this cover. So my kitchen doesn't quite look that good, but I'll take it.
Well, I absolutely love it. I love that blue. I want one of those hoods just like that. But the
Me
fact that
too.
when I mentioned the mitts, I thought that they will probably be white to match the, baker's hat. But then when I saw them, I said, oh no, that's even better. It matches
That's great. I know. I'm not changing a thing on that cover.
super, super, super cute. So I'm excited about this book and I can't wait to see what the illustrator does with your ideas.
She's amazing. She's
Around.
amazing.
Yes, so I think we have the dream team in place, the illustrator and the standards writer. Miss Dina, have to give her a shout out.
Hmm.
We are super ready to go. I don't want to limit it, but how many books will be in the series?
I'm thinking five. Um,
Okay.
one, I know I brainstormed with Langston Moore one day, and I told him about this. Langston, as you know, he's been a friend of mine for a long time. He and Preston Thorne, they wrote the series Just a Chicken. And
Uh-huh.
so I've just been in love with that series for a very long time. And he was like, you could think of all these things. Layne loves so and so. And I thought of the lasagna one, thank goodness. But
Uh-huh.
he talked about Layne loves language, Layne loves learning, and then Layne loves the lake. Layne loves lavender, which she does. So I don't know. I could go on and on if I have the time and the money to to write some more of the series. I could write at least five, I think. I know this one is in the works, and I hope. I do want to shout out to my mother-in-law, Roberta Bain. You know, she is in the acknowledgement section, but I've named my little company. You know, this is out of Breezy Bee Readers. This is Breezy Bee Readers Company, and you can see the website at Breezy Bee Books. That's where I got the Breezy Bee. She, her name is Roberta, but her grandkids always call her B. And so when she signs her name, she puts a heart and then a B. And so that's why we named the company Breezy Bee Readers, as a shout out to my mother-in-law. I call her my mother-in-law, Roberta Bain. And so that's um, why everything just about in my house right now has a B on it.
Awesome. And I love it. And I think that will go far. The bee, I love mascots. And children gravitate to those types of things as well.
Yeah, and the illustrator did a great job on the little logo with Breezy Bee Readers, so I want to give her some credit for that too.
Awesome. Well, I love the alliteration as an English teacher and of course teaching poetry and just literature in general. The fact that, you are keeping with that L, staying with that L, that certainly adds another element to the learning. So another thing I love about the book is the multi-generational family. Layne is so blessed. So she's with a great, great grandmother on the dedication page. Is that correct?
It's her great grandmother, right?
Great
It's her
grandmother.
great grandmother, my mother,
But she has in the book with her, her mother, her grandmother, and her great grandmother,
and her dad. Yeah.
and her dad. And
Hmm.
then she has you, and just the fact that she had gotten close to your mom, just think about being surrounded with all of those people, what
Yeah.
a blessing. And now that, we are living longer, children are able to know so many more people and have those relationships, the layers that, and I was blessed. I had a grandmother up until I was 50, maybe
Oh,
one, I think. Um,
wow.
yes,
Aren't you lucky?
yes, my maternal grandmother lived to be 95, and my paternal grandmother lived to be 94. My maternal grandmother lived to be 95.
You
So
are blessed to have them that long. Yeah.
yes, I really was. But I think I was two when my mother lost her mother. And so I don't really remember her. I remember the day she passed, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't really remember her. So I was blessed to have a grandparent for a very long time, but she was the only one that I really got to have for the majority of my life. So what I'm saying is that even in a family with with genes that of longevity, what Layne has experienced is maybe somewhat more common now, but it's such a blessing in the learning opportunities that are there, because the things that your mom could teach her that you can't, and that she wouldn't have had the opportunity to learn, that is a true inspiration and a blessing for a child. And perhaps that's another opportunity for learning where children will really gravitate to and understand what they have. And it may not be a parent or a grandparent, it may be a great aunt, or it may be the lady across the street. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have someone who is generations away from you and you have the time to spend some time with them and learn something from them, that's a whole nother school. Like, you can't get that at Lawrence Elementary or Greenbrier Elementary. That's something that is just valued and treasured, and you have to get it while you can, because of course life isn't promised to any of us.
Isn't that the truth? That is so true. And I know that sometimes young children don't necessarily gravitate to older people, but you should have seen Lane and my mom. My mom did flower arrangements. She loved to put live plants together, and we had
Uh-huh.
lots of plants, and so we've tried to keep them alive. But Lane and she would get out in what my mother would call her she shed, and they would make flower arrangements. They would plant live plants, and Lane got right in there. Now she helps her grandmother, Grandy, do the same thing.
Oh,
Grandy doesn't do flower arrangements, but
uh-huh.
she does live plants. And so
Wow.
I think she got her green thumb from my mother, and Lane will get her green thumb, not from Angie, not from Aunt Angie, but from my sister Grandy.
Well, she would enjoy my backyard. I do have some lavender, but when you said Layne Loves Lavender, I immediately thought about soap or lotion or perfume or something of that nature. But wow, what another
Mhm.
great opportunity for
That's
learning.
we're gonna in that book. I think we're gonna take her to a lavender farm, which we did take my mother and my sister Grandy and I went to with my mother to a lavender farm.
Oh,
And
wow.
Lane does like a little spa day, so there will be some soaps and some good smelly lavender stuff in that book.
Wow. Well,
That
so
might be the third one. How about
I'll
that?
have to find out more about this lavender farm, but do you get sleepy when you walk through it?
No, no, but you do get a little relaxed because it smells so good.
I bet, because just I have, and the thing is, it grows into a really big bunch.
Yes.
My mom wants some, and I'm trying to figure out how I can root it or pull some to give to her, whatever. But just the smell, just it sucks you in, it's
Oh,
soothing.
I
It's just,
know.
you can't even explain it, and that's why I understand that. When our granddaughter comes, that's what I use to bathe her and get her ready for bed. It's just
Oh,
one
yes.
calming
Oh my
feelings and
goodness.
smells that you can actually find.
You
That's
have a
awesome.
little granddaughter, and remind me how old your granddaughter is.
She is 1.5.
Okay. Oh, so cute.
Well, thank you for that. So you are now a published author, and we're going to wrap up in a few, but I do want to just talk about, what it feels like to be an author. What have you learned about the publishing process, and what is your outlook for your future books?
Wow. Well, as you said earlier, we kind of stumbled along a couple of things, but I know it's been smooth sailing because you are my publisher, and I cannot say enough about Dr. Cunningham's abilities and just her patience. You may not know me, but I'm full of questions all the time, and um, I just love her so much. I have even put her link on my webpage, Hadassah's Crown. And so that's the first thing I want to say is a huge thank you to Hadassah's Crown Publishing, because you, it was divine intervention, God's blessing, that I reconnected with one of our friends in Spartanburg, and she told me about you. And so I'll have to say that the first great decision that I made after the decision to write the book was to ask you to work with me as my publisher. And lots of people will come out of the woodwork when you tell them you've written a book, and oh, I've been thinking about that. And so as soon as they say, I want to write a book, well, I've got your publisher. And so that's why you are on. If anybody wants to write a book and they visit my site or they ask me, I'm going straight to Dr. Sonia Cunningham and Hadassah's Crown, because um, it, that's the first relationship in writing a good book or a good series, is the relationship that you have with your publisher. And luckily we had a previous relationship in as a professional uh, um, HR folks, and so, and then friends. So now I just feel like she's my sister. And so I just want to thank you so much for your hard work in this. It was dicey for a little while, but we stumbled along, and I learned so much, and you were patient as I learned. um, and then I think, going back to what else it takes, is it takes someone who is willing to illustrate your book like you want it to be. And so I'll have to give some credit to Amna, who who was my illustrator, and then working with again with Sonia and Amazon, it just came together.
Well,
So
excuse me. Thank you so much for that. I greatly appreciate it. And I know that the time that I worked with an actual publisher, they were in the Midwest. And so I never saw anyone. I spoke to them on the phone when I first, was signed on. They called me, we had talks and celebrations, but then after that, everything was through email.
yeah,
And as you know, there's sometimes you have to pick up the phone or you have to jump on a Zoom because you can't explain everything in writing.
I
And so
know.
to have someone, local that you can see and to talk to is something that so many of the clients that I work with talk about, the importance of that. But I do always want to have that personal touch. And I have a lot of questions, but sometimes I get questions that I haven't thought about and I have to research and find the answer. And so it's always a great opportunity for me to expand and for me to learn. And this project has stretched me, and I'm grateful again for the opportunity. But I have loved every single moment. Your kind and compassionate and caring attitude, that I've always known. It stayed the course in this book, and the fact that you want to contribute to children in this way speaks volumes of who you are. And I appreciate being on the journey. I'm looking forward to moving ahead and in the future, working on more books together. But
That's
you have
right. Don't you go anywhere, because I'm
I
stuck.
will
You're stuck with me.
I love what I do. I will be right here, and I'm on for any type of challenge that comes. But you've been true to your word, because I've gotten a number of emails where you're introducing me to this person and this person and this person. And what's been funny to me as an author is sometimes I'm telling people I'm an author, this is my book, and they'll look at the book, they might buy it, but what they're interested in, well, how did you become an author? Because
I
I want
know.
to
I
become an
know.
author.
Well,
And so
again, the first stop is to find a personable, professional um, publisher. Man, listen to that. Personal, professional publisher.
that's
I'm
another
stuck on
book.
those. To just guide you. I couldn't have done it. And you asked me about how does it feel to be an author. I really don't know yet because we just finished this one and cleaned up a couple of things. I know I'll go ahead and put that elephant in the room out there. The illustrations came in a little blurry, and so we had to do a reprint, and now it's all good to go. But that was just one of those things that we had to work through. What are you going to do? You just fix it. And you were just such a, hate to use this word, such a breeze to work with.
Thank you. But I
But
don't think that I didn't have, my dad always taught me when I was growing up, you have to smile when your stomach hurts. And so I put the game face on, but I mean, I do have sleepless nights. Like I am a perfectionist. I want everything perfect. And when things aren't that way, it's like, I feel some kind of way. But the good thing is though, you can make corrections. And I have to keep telling myself, nobody's perfect. Every experience is a learning opportunity. And
Mhm.
you were so gracious and you kept saying, well, people are very understanding and
They are. They really are. They
that was the
were, they
key.
are.
And I hope they have their books with the illustrations are so very beautiful. No one deserves to have a book with blurred images. So if you don't have the crystal clear, be
Not
sure
I
to
don't have mine yet. You got yours before me.
return your books and make sure you get the crystal clear pictures because it is available in both the paperback and the hardcover. So you do want that because you paid for it and you deserve it, and we definitely want you to have it.
Absolutely. And I'll be at I've got um a reading at Gigi's Library in Prosperity, South Carolina on June the 15th at 11:30. So I'll be down there reading, and then with this interview. And so we're getting around. I'm
That
going to
is
be in
awesome.
on June 14th. I'm going to be in Clarendon County as because I was superintendent in Clarendon School District 4. So they've invited me because one of my board members said, "Hey, where are my Clarendon authors?" And so I wrote her back. I said, "Me." And so she's invited me to read at their Clarendon County Library or Author Day on June 14th. So I'll be there. I don't know what time yet, but I've got a couple of stints going.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I know you're super busy. Maybe you'll be able to keep those on your website so we'll know where you are, where
They
Layne's
are so
traveling.
far.
Okay, awesome, awesome. That is great.
And if you
Well,
send me
like
this link,
I said,
I'll put this one on there too.
okay, great. I most certainly will. And
Okay.
in the description, we're going to have your website, your other YouTube video, a link to the to purchase. And so you are able to keep up with the author. You're able to purchase books. You're able to invite her to your library, museum, your children's reading festival, whatever it is you have. Dr. Bain is excited about being a new author, and she will show up and be there. So this has been a great interview. I just want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we close out?
Oh my goodness, we've covered a lot, but at the same time, I want folks to know that the purpose of these books, it will be, or it is, the purpose is as a teaching tool. I think parents are looking for ways to interact with their young children and they just don't know how to do it. And this is a way to do it. And so, even if you use these similar questions, take the questions and relate them to another book that you may have. So it's not something that you can just use with Layne Loves Labrador. Some of them are specific, but you can still change them around. And this is just a guide, maybe a template, if you'll call it, for how to read a book with your child, not to your child, but with your child. And even as teachers or homeschoolers, you can use this book to teach all kinds of lessons. So my brain can just go off on so many tangents on how many lessons you could use with this one book.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm all about reading and learning, and I enjoy publishing, period. But my favorite are children's books because of the creativity that goes into the layout. And I just
Yeah.
love I treat my mailbox or my email as it's like a party in my inbox when I get
Oh,
pictures because I just love the colorful cuteness and just seeing what the author and the illustrator have collaborated on and just it's eye candy and I can't wait to see it. And
great
so
term. I love it.
I'm excited that this summer, and it's already summer for a lot of children, we're
Mhm.
going to be reading some children's books for my YouTube channel and giving families an opportunity to be interactive with their children. And sometimes children may just be tired and they don't want to read. So we're going to take the sting out. They don't have to cry and fuss. We'll just read to them. And so this can be used at night. And hopefully you'll be able to read some of Layne Loves Labradors. I'm giving authors the opportunity. You can read it all, or you can just read a teaser. So then the families
Oh,
can go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever and purchase the book. So I
I'd
love.
love to.
Oh, well, great, great. Well, I will certainly be back in touch with that about that. And so we appreciate our followers. Thank you so much for your support. And we do want you to get a copy of this book, Layne Loves Labradors. It is on Amazon right now in paperback and hardcover. And you can also connect with the author because we are putting her information in the description. So thank you for being with us for this interview. And we wish you the best. Happy summer and happy reading.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cunningham. I do enjoy working with you. And by the way, I have one more person who I'm going to send to you because they want to do a book. They just
Awesome.
emailed me yesterday, so we'll end
Awesome.
on that note.
We are book people. Again, we love what we do and we love working with people every and anywhere. We want to see their dream come true and their dream on the shelf.
Well, you can definitely make that happen. Thank you
Thank you
again.
so much. Well, be safe on your way to your graduation and have a wonderful day. Always a pleasure
Okay.
speaking with you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.